Hello and welcome to a short video on proportions. This will serve as just an introduction on what proportions are, how to identify proportion, and how to solve some basic proportions. So to start off here, proportion is an equation stating that two ratios are equivalent. A lot of times we see two fractions written side by side with an equal sign. Those would be proportions. Two quantities that form a proportion would be also known as proportional. So over here we have several different fractions that we're going to see if we can identify whether or not these make proportions or not. I do not care for the way that this program has written out these fractions, so I am going to rewrite them down here. We have 6/4, and we're trying to see, is that indeed equal to 8/12? We're kind of saying if I were to reduce 6/4 or if I were to make it larger, would it be equivalent to 8/12? There's a few ways that you can do this. I'm going to show you my preferred way of doing this that I just find to be the simplest way to do this, which is to find the cross products of these two fractions. So I would start by multiplying 8 times 4. 8 times 4 is 32. And then I would multiply 12 times 6, which is 72. In order for these two fractions to be proportional, these two numbers would need to be the same. Those two numbers we can see are not the same. We have 72 and 32. So that is not a proportion, or your answer would simply be no. Okay. The next one, again, I prefer writing my fractions this way. It's just easier for me to look at. That slant sometimes is hard. I'm going to take again my cross product here. 10 times 1 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10. Again, these two numbers must match. They do. Therefore, that is proportional. Last one there, 10/3. We're wanting to know, is that equivalent to or proportional to 5/6? Again, cross products. 3 times 5 is 15. 6 times 10 is 60. Those two numbers need to match. They do not. Therefore, I would say no, these are not proportions. All right, so now I'm going to flip over here to solving some proportions. I'm going to again rewrite these. Sorry about that. 1/4 equals z over 20. In this case, we're actually trying to figure out what the z would be to make this a proportion. There's a couple ways to do that. With these very basic proportions, we can actually start here with the denominators and say, how do I go from 4 to 20? Well, I know that to go from 4 to 20, I would multiply by 5. So 4 times 5 is 20, which means I need to do the same here to the top. If I multiply the bottom by 5, I need to multiply the top by 5. 1 times 5 is 5. Therefore, that tells me that z equals 5. Another one, we have 3/4 equals 12 over y. I'm going to ask myself, how do I go from 3 to 12? I would multiply by 4 to get from 3 to 12. If I multiply the top by 4, I must do the same to the bottom. 4 times 4 equals 16, and so y equals 16. This last one's slightly different. I think you can get the hang of it. It's slightly different because we're going from a larger number in 35 to a smaller number in 7. And I can say to myself, how do I go from 7 to 35? And I know that I multiply that by 5 to get here. So that means if I do the same down here and multiply that by 5, that would give me k is equal to 15. I could also divide there. I could say 35 divided by 5 gives me 7. So what number divided by 5 gives me 3, which would again still give me 15. All right, that's just a basic introduction to proportions. I'll see you later.